I have never seen a politician speak as clear and articulate as I saw JD Vance speak tonight. Now, I mean, what's the main takeaway from this debate we just saw? I think fundamentally we have to all agree that both JD Vance and Walz were both much better at debating than what we saw in the previous debate. And what did we see in the previous debate? We saw what a person like Kamala Harris can do if she has the advantage to make a man like Donald Trump look small and silly. And she was dismissive. She was shaking her head. She was rolling her eyes. She was, making all these sort of gestures. And it was very difficult, especially considering that Donald Trump had the moderators were also fact checking him and not Kamala as well. But tonight we saw two men, articulate, two politicians, very articulate, laying out their positions. But as hard as he tried, Walz could not defend Kamala Harris in the light of the fact that she has been the vice president for the last 3 years and has had the opportunity for the last 3 years to make the changes which she's claiming to make. At one point in this debate, which I thought was really interesting, Vance actually fact checked the moderators as they were trying to insert some information that was not exactly right into the questions they were asking, and was successful. Um, and he all the also there was also the issue of the Tiananmen Square, which the moderators, thankfully, unlike the previous debate, actually asked a tough question of Waltz, and once again he's shown that he says things which are not true in order to get some political clout. So what do I think is going to happen here? What is the result of this debate? Did Waltz win? Did JD Vance win? I think clearly everybody can see that JD Vance speaks well, understands the issues way better, and did a really great job of defending the Trump record, which really needed to happen. And I think a lot of people are going to come away from this saying, why is it that it's Kamala Harris that is the presidential nominee at all? I feel like Tim Walz, even though he's wrong about many of the issues, is able to articulate them, unlike Kamala Harris, who can't seem to articulate anything. And when unless she's put in a perfect position, like she was in the previous debate, and asked just the right questions and memorized just the right statements, she doesn't seem to have a grasp on any of the issues. And you see Tim Walz, even though he was behind Vance a lot of the times, even though he couldn't keep up with his pace, even though he was caught a couple of times having to admit that he had misspoken several places, Tim Walz actually would be a much better candidate on the Democrat side than Kamala Harris is. And so I think the outcome of this debate is everyone can look at it and say, I think that Tim Walz or even JD Vance would be much better candidates than Kamala Harris or or Donald Trump. But I think Tim Walz also did a great job of pointing to Donald Trump's record, which really boistered the question that ought to be in the mind of anybody who's on the fence about this, about what exactly is Kamala Harris bringing to the table. She cannot articulate her positions or an understanding of the issues, even a little bit, compared to what her vice presidential nominee pick is. Why should anyone vote for her? Why should anyone consider her to be a presidential nominee? Well, I think that's what they're going to come up with. Kamala Harris has just started to come back down in the polls. She got a boost from the last debate, and I think it was a phony boost. I think anybody who's serious, they can look and watch any of my videos or tons of videos on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, which will fact check all of the various little points that seem to be winners at the time in the debate, but are not winners. As I pointed out in previous videos, she lied through all of the debate, and so it looked like a win. But if you actually fact check it yourself, if you do your own research, you'll see that everything that seemed like she was a gotcha was actually just a deception. And so, what do we have? We have in this debate two men, two politicians who are able to, they understand the issues. They're able to articulate the issues. They're able to speak off the cuff. They're able to be civil with one another, which we didn't see in the last debate. Kamala Harris was constantly demeaning Donald Trump, rolling her eyes, turning her head, just scoffing and laughing at him. That is not a superpower, which is going to enable anyone to be successful in the political space. It is not a superpower to be able to demean someone. If Kamala Harris, God forbid, becomes president and she goes over to China and she's speaking to someone over there, it will not be beneficial if she is able to make him feel like lesser, like if she's able to make him feel demeaned. That's not, now she can demean Donald Trump all she wants, but in the political space, what we need is people who have strong leadership skills. And actually, we saw in the previous debate, Donald Trump was able to be civil. He didn't argue nearly as much. He didn't. He was able to control his emotions, whereas what we saw Harris do was to manipulate us and to demean him and to gaslight him the whole time. In comparison, we saw a debate tonight. We saw a real debate. Two politicians that knew what they were doing, said what they believed in, and Tim Walz's ideas were um, horribly liberal and supportive of Kamala Harris' idea of destroying the housing market by giving everybody a bunch of money and all this kind of stuff. But I think we saw J.D. Vance actually show forth much better articulation of good conservative value and an explanation of why those are good for America. And another thing that he did, which was really important, is he showcased Donald Trump's record and that Donald Trump was successful in the years that he in his previous administration, to give us raises, to lower taxes, to do many things to prevent foreign wars and all the things that occurred. J.D. Vance not only showed how it is that you can be civil in a debate, J.D. Vance showed that a conservative can have a good control of the facts and he can articulate them well, and he showed that he's good and he's able to be civil with people, but also lay out his points. Um, and almost unfortunately for Harris, Tim Walz as well showed that he is an able politician. What we need from people who are going to be in the White House trying to affect good change and on the world stage speaking to politicians across the world is people who are able to change hearts and minds. And I think if you're a Democrat and you saw this debate tonight, you will see clearly that Walz, even though he was behind, he didn't do nearly as well as Vance, was much more of a politician than Kamala Harris is, who is not able to articulate her positions, does not have an understanding of the issues, and was not able to convince anyone of what she believes in. And so, actually, the fact that Tim Walz did so well in this debate, even though Vance did, I believe, really truly was more successful in the debate, The fact that Tim Walz was keeping up with him was not good for Kamala Harris, because I think even if you're a Democrat and you were supportive of Harris, if you look at how Tim Walz carried himself and how he had a command of the issues at hand, and even though he was wrong on many of those issues, and even though many of them were sort of leftist or Marxist views, if you see how capable he is as a politician, you will understand that Harris is not.